to think about plants you want to grow before winter. With tips on what to plant, here's the Weekend Gardener with some tips for you this morning.
Hello gardening friends, welcome to the Weekend Gardener.
Hello gardening friends, welcome to the Weekend Gardener. Well, it's time to harvest some asparagus. Look, it's coming up really nice.
Vegetable growing is one of my favorite things, and asparagus is one of my favorite things too. My name is John Dromgoole, and what I do is I run an organic gardening center that's based around teaching, but we do supplies organic gardening products to the community. I've been in business in the retail end of it for over 20 years, getting near 25 years now. What I've seen is Generation X has begun to come along, a dramatic jump in the sales. At one point here in the spring, it was near 500% increase in vegetable sales and herbs and seeds than previous years. So that's a great big jump. In Y2K, there was a lot of hoarding of seeds, people were concerned, but it wasn't the movement towards organics like it is today. So I'll tell you a little bit about organic gardening. I think organic gardening is a real unique way of gardening in that we try to find a balance with nature out in the garden. The challenge of gardening is one that is imposed on yourself. If you think you can't do it, then you struggle a little bit that first year. But those little successes that occur out there build confidence. And one of the easiest things to do is to study nature, because that's where the lessons are. The lessons come from nature. They don't come from textbooks necessarily. Those are guides sometimes. But the real lesson is when you go out and study nature. Spend a little time when you're walking somewhere and take that other observation beyond just seeing things, just seeing flowers. I think that this is one of the more important things. You begin to think about nature more and study nature more, because during a drought, for example, we take that information and we bring it home with us now. And that information tells us that we can get through long periods of time if we let the leaves fall on the soil, if we let the soil get healthier. If the soil begins to build up the organic matter that it needs, we begin to imitate the forest floor at home.
When a plant is sick and they come in here, diseases and insects problems are not a lack of pesticides. It's something else. It's a cultural practice. You can't grow tomatoes in the shade. So pretty soon they're not producing anything. Maybe a bug comes along. It's like people. When people, let's say, don't exercise, don't eat well, are eating fast foods, they're more likely to get a disease or colds more easily, or the flu, or whatever else it could be, because of the imbalance in their nourishment. It's the same thing in the garden. The role of the insect is to get rid of the weaker species, just like disease is to get rid of the people that are not up for it. Then the insects do the same thing.
Whether you're an organic gardener using sprays and don't understand them well enough, or you're using a bunch of chemicals out there, when you kill the beneficial insects, you inherit their job. Now they're gone. They can't help manage this setting that has these guys doing damage, but these guys are the natural control. They're not there anymore. It's now, you're now the ladybug. You're now the trichogramma wasp. You're now the one that was managing these things.
The presence of the insects on the plants, when people come to me and say, I've got this problem, I'll look at it a little bit deeper and say, the soil isn't right yet. You're planting this out of season. Cabbage doesn't grow in the summer, so you can't plant them at this time. Do a soil test, just like a blood test. It'll tell you a lot about that person. Well, the soil test will tell you a lot about what is missing from the soil so that you can add it to the soil.
This is key to the organic garden, a healthy living soil, and compost is one of the main sources of that.
you have to stop using the chemical fertilizers. These salt-based fertilizers with herbicides in them, and God knows what else they put in these things, are killing the life in the soil. And so pretty soon it's like a drug addict. It needs more, and it needs more, and it never ends. You don't have to go to Death Valley in the big box stores to get a pesticide. You just don't need to go there. Read the label on some of these things. See how strong they are, how toxic they are. Roundup, for example. This is Monsanto's #1 money source.
The devil's been busy in your backyard.
Monsanto has their fingers in quite a few things when it comes to your food. And one of the things that they're doing is genetically modifying the food. And these genetically modified foods are an experiment on us. We don't really know what's going to happen. It's an experiment. And we are the rats that think that we're the rats, and we'll find out.
The devil's been busy in your backyard.
And they're suing people that have a farm over here with soybeans that they've had for generations in their family, and then they put in their genetically modified soybeans over here, and when they cross-pollinate, the wind blows the pollen over there, then their lawyers come back and say, hey, that's ours now. You owe us some money because you're selling our pollinated, patented varieties. And they've taken a lot of people to court. They've run some people out of business because they are farmers. They can't afford the fleet of lawyers that Monsanto has, and so they're taking their farms.
This is an example of getting rid of your lawn and get a low water use, beautiful space out there. This is very important with the water shortage. So this is the big tooth maple, one of the native maples, our bluebonnets, and agaves, other succulents of different types that use a similar amount of water, and that is very little water. That's one of the lessons we can teach out here, that you can take the lawn out and still have a beautiful space.
What I've found over these years, and there have been many years of doing this, is that it's beyond a good fertilizer, a good organic fertilizer. It's beyond a natural product of some kind that you might spray with out there. It's beyond soil building with compost. These are all really important things. It's beyond the use of seaweed as a spray for more minerals. There's so many things that we provide for the customer that the customer will learn something else down the road. And it took me a while to understand this, but an example is, one night I was standing in the garden. And here at my store, when it's after hours, it's a really neat place because I have some privacy, I had some time to think and look around at what's going on. So I was standing down by the vegetable garden looking at it, and I thought, you know, got some good fertilizer in there, got some plants that are growing in season, nice compost, everything that I would suggest to somebody to have a nice garden. And yet the garden is even more vigorous than with all of those things. And the more I thought about it, I see a lot of people come down to the garden every day, and I realized that they're putting something into the garden for me. And what they're putting in there is love. You can hear that one over and over. I love this garden. I want to have one like this.
And nothing can touch me here. Nothing can touch me here. Nothing can touch me here on Crystal River.
That energy going into the garden is part of what makes it work. It really is. There is a vibration given when one expresses love to someone else or to their pet, and in reality, to the garden too. All of these things are alive. All of these things sense very well. And so between other people and animals and the garden and life, birds, whatever it is, when you have that special feeling you know you get something in return. And that in our case is this vigorous growth. So it's a big picture, you know, and the picture that I like is the one where we try to achieve harmony. And this harmony includes words like sustainability. Once you get the harmony, it becomes a more sustainable picture. And sustainability means you're not out buying fertilizers anymore. You're not even buying organic fertilizers anymore because you learned how to make a good compost. You're completing that cycle. Now we're beginning to see that perfect cycle that nature has in place for us. That's organic gardening. Well-adapted plants, planted in a healthy soil, planted in the right season. This is what it's about. Not about insecticides or fertilizers, even though they're natural. Those are the steps to get to that magical place where you don't do much. Cut.